Not long ago, I did a Wagyu ribeye steak, and it was terrific. But what if you can't get Wagyu ribeye steak, or you don't want to spend the money for that? Can you make a regular select grade steak taste great? Yeah, you can, and I'm going to show you how today. All right, so what I have here is a pretty good sized bone-in 2-inch thick ribeye steak. This is select grade. This is straight out of the butcher's counter at the grocery store. Nothing special. It does have some marbling, but nothing to write home about. So what are you going to do with this kind of steak? Now, this costs $10. If this was prime or something like that, you'd be paying 4 times that amount for it, maybe even more. So could you turn a $10 steak like this into something that's going to taste amazing? Well, as I said before, yes you can, and that's what we're going to do right now. So the first thing is we're going to season this and marinate it overnight. So I'm going to start with some very coarse flake salt here. I'm going to press that down into the meat, and then some coarse cracked black pepper. Same thing, we're going to press this into the meat. Be generous with both, the salt and the pepper. Turn it over. Get this side as well. There is a lot of meat here that needs that salt and that pepper. All right, we're going to transfer this into a dish and start working on our marinade. So now we're going to add a couple tablespoons of minced garlic. Just get it in here, rub it on, roll the steak over, get the other side. Again, this monster steak was $10, $4.99 a pound, select grade bone-in ribeye. It's gonna feed, well, it would feed me, but probably feed 2 normal people, maybe 3. To this, we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. We're also gonna give a good splash of olive oil, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons. We're just going to work this all in. Roll it around. Pick up anything that fell off and rub it in here. So now this is going to go inside a Ziploc bag, and we're going to pour the marinade in with it. So we have our Ziploc bag here. We're just going to get this bad boy in. We're going to take all the rest of this marinade, pour it in. I'm going to seal this up. Much of the air out as we can. This is going to go in the refrigerator overnight, and tomorrow we're going to grill this up on the Weber kettle, and we're going to have a fantastic steak. All right, so here is our big old select grade bone-in ribeye steak that's been marinating overnight in that nice mixture of spices, some oil, some vinegar. Before we get it out on the Weber kettle, give it a good sear and finish it in direct, I need to wipe off the excess of this garlic and these larger peppercorns. You don't want those things sticking to the surface, or not too many of them, to burn, and then those peppercorns can still stay hard even after marinating overnight. So we just want to kind of brush off the majority of these. If a few slip through, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Really, especially if you can get those big pieces of peppercorn that might have stuck. All right, that looks good to me. Let's get this out to the Weber kettle. All right, let's get our ribeye on. We're gonna let that sear for about 4 minutes on each side. We're gonna kind of rotate about halfway through that. Go ahead and give this guy a little 1/4 turn here. And let's go ahead and give him a turn over here. And then another quick 1/4 turn. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move our steak indirect now. And I'm keeping the bone, as you can see here, facing the vortex. And I want to go ahead and get temperature probe dead center in this meat. And as you can see, we had a nice cold spot on this big old steak. So let's get our lid on and let this finish indirect. So on the Weber kettle with the Vortex and that Mallory cast iron grate, the vents on the top and the bottom are fully open. I'm just letting this thing rock and roll here today. And I'm gonna be taking this steak to 125, 130 degrees internal, and then we're gonna let it rest for about 10 minutes before we cut into it. So I'll bring you back when we're getting close to 125. All right, we are getting close to 125 internal, so I wanna use the Thermopen to confirm some temperatures. So I just wanna get some confirmation temperatures here real quick. That's looking 124. Gonna be a little higher at the ends. That's 128. We are good. All right, we're gonna get this off, get it inside, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then we are gonna have a taste. All right, here is our select grade bone-in ribeye that we marinated overnight. Give it some extra flavor, try and overcome some of the shortcomings that you're going to get with a select grade versus a choice or a prime, or beyond that even to Wagyu and things like that. And as I mentioned, one of the reasons I did this video is to show that, yeah, you can get a lesser cut of meat and still get great flavor out of it. I mean, let's be honest, not everybody's going to go out and buy a Wagyu or prime or even choice sometimes. Sometimes you are walking by the butcher's case in the store and you see something that's a great deal and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to take a chance on that. Well, if you get that select grade cut of beef, you can do good stuff with it, just like we've done here, and I will bet you this is going to taste great. Now, if you have any tips or tricks that you use when you get, not that prime cut of beef and you want to give it some extra flavor and things like that, drop that down in the comments below. Let me know some of the things you do. This is one of the things that I do. Other things that I'll do is I will really give it a good salt and pepper brine overnight in the refrigerator without any marinade. But on a piece of meat this thick, I really wanted to go with that marinating, try and get some of that extra flavor there. So let's see how we did. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna separate this from the bone. Just gonna follow it along here. There's some good meat on there too. But now I am just gonna go straight across here. Our grain is kind of curving here, so we're just gonna go across. And let's see how we did. Oh, that is good. You can see we've got pink in there, but because there's not that fat, there's not as much moisture in there, and it does seem to go a little bit quicker. But I gotta tell you, that looks pretty good, and I would say that we've got a minor juice-a-lanch here. So let's cut a slice. Oh, that's looking good. That is looking very good. But just like in any other cut of beef, looks are only one part of it. It comes down to what it tastes like, so it's time to taste. So here we go. We have this nice piece of this select grade ribeye. Now, looking at this, I would say it's kind of a little beyond medium rare. Between medium rare and medium, you do lose a little bit more of the pink there. And I think that's because you don't have that fat marbling inside. When the fat starts to render when you're cooking a steak that has nice marbling, those juices have an evaporative cooling effect within the meat. It's just like liquid. So at 125 to 130, you may be getting more cooking on a cut of steak like this. It may go a little faster, but it still looks really good. But let's see how it tastes. That's got really good flavor. I've got nothing to complain about that in the flavor department. You definitely can tell the difference between, a prime cut and this cut just with that lack of fat. There is a difference in tenderness because you don't have all that fat in there, but it's the flavor really here that you're aiming for. And with this sort of overnight marinade of those great flavors, the garlic, the salt, the pepper, the vinegar, the olive oil, everything works together with this. Oh yeah. Now this was a pretty big steak. This was over 2 inches thick. If you're doing it with a thinner one, obviously your cooking times are going to be different here, and you are going to have to watch that temperature more closely to keep it from overshooting your desired doneness. I'd say it was right in the ballpark, and I think if I'd actually gone a little less and had it more on that rare, medium rare side, I think it would have been a little tougher. As it is, that has a good amount of tenderness. So yeah, I don't go out and buy prime steaks all the time. I don't always have Wagyu beef sent to me. A lot of times, I'm in the store at the butcher's case, getting the best deal, and when I do that, I do a few simple things to whatever cut of beef I get, and I get great results. That's really good.